How we can live a fulfilled life through the mind, the body, and the spirit. These three things are keys to living a life where you're constantly evolving and reaching that new potential and knocking off that level of potential that you thought you could only get to see, okay, there's another dimension, there's another step I can go. Let's start with the mind. Your mind is very precious and important. It's important to protect it and feed it great information. Don't look at things that are going to deter your mind from your goals or stop you from achieving what you really want and what you believe in. Looking at social media, and when you post things and then possibly you get a comment, we've all been there. You get a comment that's negative. Doesn't matter how many positive comments you see. When you see that one negative comment, that can just have a way more energy attached to it. That's why it's important to discern what you really need to be diverting your energy to. But there's ways to do that. So in order for every day to have a successful start to it, when you get out of your bed, make sure you are making that. Make sure your bed is put together nicely and you leave it in a great spot to where you'd want to come back to it. Thinking about it deeper, you spend about a third of your life in bed, 8 hours out of the 24 hours in a day. Once you start getting more spiritual energy, your sleep hours will go down because you won't be focused on a lot of external things that can waste your energy through a day. However, I'm talking for the average life, the average person, just, about a third of your time is spent in your bed. So think about how important that is. You got to respect it and leave it in a great spot to where you'd want to come back to it. Another thing that can strengthen your mind is just going for activities that you never thought you would try out. The reason you do this is to break out of your shell and just go for it on some things that, okay, this might be out of my comfort zone, but I know that I can grow from it. For example, I never had tried skateboarding until about 3 years ago. I never thought of myself as a skateboarder, and the beginning steps of it are very tedious, very tough, and very challenging. Just learning how to ollie, I thought that would be a walk in the park. Maybe I'd get it after about 3 days. It took me around a whole week to even get the board popping off of the ground consistently. So that's an example of trying out an activity to then see, okay, this actually is challenging. However, once you get into the process of growth, just don't shy away from it and keep going. Do as many reps as possible until you start seeing a difference in your skills. And once you start seeing a difference in your skills, you'll really start to fall in love with it. This is also where you find out you're not only what you're defined as. So now bringing in an activity like skateboarding, or maybe you never have cooked in your life, you bring in a skill like cooking, you start to realize, okay, I had defined myself as this person who had these set characteristics, but the mind and your mental is very malleable and it's able to grow and process and achieve new things, just depending on how much you're going to put into the craft, put into your vision of where you want to be. Visioning where you want to be is very important, because if you can take the time to just sit down, relax, and make a mental picture of where you want to be within, a set period of time. It doesn't have to be an exact date all the time. It can just be a set period of time to where you want to envision yourself being, and do it confidently, not with too many perversions in terms of, well, if X happens, then Y will happen, then Z will happen. Nothing in this life is a linear process. It's often X, then you go to Z, then you might go back to Y, then you have to add a few letters in between Y to get back to Z. Life is not a linear progression. It's a constant development of skills, and you build those up day by day to see a new version of yourself. So when something's happening and your mental starts coming in and you get those blocks that may have happened in the past, do your best to discern that, okay, this is just a possibility of what could happen, but that's why you do your visioning. This is where you want to be. You're going to go through all those mental blocks and all those hurdles that might appear within your mental or the physical or the spiritual to get to your desired outcome. Now, moving on to the spiritual aspect of everything, one big thing for spirituality is just being able to sit down and meditate on what it is you are, who you are, what you're connected to, because we're all connected to everything that happens within this universe. No one person can be outside of what is created. If the universe was created, then nothing can be outside of it, because that is the mother and you are just a child of the universe. Growing, developing, shape-shifting, hopefully giving back love, and just honestly trying to understand yourself as well as others through life. That's really a lot of what this life is in the human body, in your meat flesh, right? So you're just constantly evolving, and if you're on a path of evolvement, you want to just learn about others and see, why do people act the way that they do? Why are we so different from each other, but also have all the same problems at the same time that we deal with, that we overcome? A lot of spiritual growth comes from when you don't look at others in terms of judgment, right? It's a lot of relieving the judgment from what others do or why they act a certain way. And it's more of just the acceptance. Now, it's not to say that if someone is super torturing to you or your mental, or they just have a bad personality, to just continue to breed into that and stay around that energy. A lot of times you have to move away from energy, but do your best always to not turn the problem inwards and say, okay, they just don't like me. It's something that I'm doing. Or, wow, like there must be something wrong with me if they are treating me this way in a negative manner. And even if it's in a positive manner, if someone's really nice to you and loving and caring and goes out of their way to make sure that you are all set, make sacrifices for you, that's all of it has to come from a spot of not looking too much into one person. Look into the energy and examine it. Okay, this person's really nice to me. That's great, because granted, no matter if they were mean or nice, I have to just keep my energy up and discern, give back positivity, because positivity is harder to be. It's harder to be positive than it is to be negative. Being negative is something that, any of us can do. To be a positive person, you really have to have a third eye view of the world, and you have to rise to be more than just a normal person who's accepting and flowing through life. You have to continuously break down every situation and just see the light of it. See the lessons that you could learn, see the lessons that you could give others by reciprocating positive energy, because it is very infectious. And the last is really the physical. The physical body, you have to keep it in top tier shape, because we live in a physical reality. So everything's connected: the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. If you're not going to do your best to stay in shape, or just stay in a spot of where everything can flow connectively, then it's going to be a bad look. The physical body needs to be able to offer power for the mind. It needs to be able to offer power for your spirit, so that whatever you're going through, you're going to be able to battle it. So that comes in everything that you put into your body, right? So the food that we eat, it's very important for the body, because whatever you're going to be eating, it should reflect who you want to be. That's like eating a Twinkie versus eating, let's say, a steak dinner, a chicken sandwich with vegetables on the side. Not from a fast food restaurant or anything like that. That real food that's going to rejuvenate you, going to give you nutrition for your brain, for your body, for your mind. A lot of what you eat is directly related to how your mind thinks. If you're eating junk food, what's your mind going to think? All right, I want to be lazy. I want to sit down. I don't want to do this today. And then in terms of physical activity, you need to be giving your body the awareness and the attention that it desires. It's not to say you need to become a bodybuilder or you need to be in the UFC, MMA gyms all day 24/7. It just means, hey, if it's a nice or bad day, still take a walk. Still go breathe in the fresh air that you are offered 24 hours a day, living in life. Do something. Push-ups in your room. Not all of us are in fortunate circumstances where we can wake up and take a walk or breathe in the fresh air every day, but everybody could just do a little push-ups here and there. Do a little sit-ups here and there. So think about all those three aspects of your life and how connected they are. It's like the yin and yang symbol. Without one, you can't have the other. Without your highs, you can't have your lows. Without awareness of yourself and reaching into the physical, spiritual, the mental, it's going to be a lot harder to succeed and really rise up in terms of your life, your consciousness, your awareness.